have to have a quorum, don't we? Okay. So we have to have a quorum. So we're waiting just a few more council people to show up. Glad to see everybody here today. We've never had this many people since I've been mayor at a millage hearing, so this is exciting. Good morning. Good. I talked to, is it Councilwoman Kirby in Lovejoy? Working on that bus. Have y'all heard anything back? Okay. Keep me posted on that, because I was going to send Taylor, my assistant. How many people have you priced out the whole trip? Public comment list, and although I would love to hear your comments, I want to make sure that I have jurisdiction over your concerns in regard to millage rate. Is everybody in here about the millage rate? Okay. So there's some addresses on this sheet that is outside the city limits of Jonesboro. You're more than welcome to stay. You're more than welcome to give comment, but I can't do anything about county taxes. We are here for those that live in incorporated city of Jonesboro. So if you just give me a second, I'm just going to go through the list. You're more than welcome to stay, but I just want you to hear, if you don't live in the city limits of Jonesboro, incorporated Jonesboro, then this millage discussion today really won't impact you, okay? Ms. Steele, is that North Shore? Yes. And that is outside the city limits of Jonesboro. Right, I know. Okay, so you want to just tell, you still want? Because, well, I just address it when okay, I just want to be clear that any discussion regarding the county millage rate, I have no jurisdiction over, neither do any of my council members. So we will listen just because out of a courtesy, okay? I see something that says, look like Lindsay Lane, Melton. What lane? That's, again, outside the city limits of Jonesboro. I'm going all the way down, and I have my chief of police, I have Maria, my HR, and so they'll all verify. Yes, sir, that's outside the city limits of Jonesboro. Larry Brock, that looks like Clemens Road. Yes, sir, that's outside the city. Yes, sir. Can I saw Mr. Herman, Mr. Andrew. Andrew, do you know when BOC is? We can get that information for you. No, I saw, yes. So it's really not by zip code, it's by 30236. So here's an old-fashioned way to do it, but it's changed a little bit because we've annexed in. Most of the addresses within the city limits of Jonesboro have 3 digits, like 183. But there's some because we built some new subdivision and annexed in. But I think it'd be easier if I go ahead. So I see someone from South Main, y'all are in the city. Embry, E-M-B-R-E-Y, that's outside the city limits of Jonesboro. Deerfield, that's outside the city limits of Jonesboro. Musket Ridge, and any employees or council members, if I say something that's not outside, that isn't, correct me, but I think I got all the streets memorized. Musket Ridge, that's outside the city limits of Jonesboro. So we'll find when the next BOC hearings are. I think they're all posted, so if anybody can help me look to find when the next BOC is outside the city limits. Do we have another sheet? Okay. I see Endeavor Drive, 349 Endeavor Drive, Ediver. That's outside the city limits of Jonesboro. Botany Drive, that's outside city limits of Jonesboro. And Michael with VFW Post 633, I think y'all are inside the city. Is that I believe, I think that is inside. That is inside. Yes, sir. Beg your pardon? Outside the city limits. Outside the city limits. Again, y'all are welcome to stay, but I just hate to, yeah. So, no problem. I wish we had known. I would have put up a map, but if anyone's concerned, there's no residential. If you're traveling north toward Griffin, south toward Griffin, we have no residential on the, would that be west side of Terra Boulevard? So Terra Road, we have nothing like, behind Wayfair, behind Lytle, those aren't there. Now, if you want to come this way and go down Old Stockbridge Road, y'all know Old Stockbridge Road, the old Ingalls, city limits stops right after, what's that subdivision? Old Ivy subdivision to the right. It stops there. If you're driving, like if you're doing South McDonough, it stops right before you cross over 138. So right about Rum Creek area over there. There you go, thank you. If you don't have a city of, if you have never paid 2 taxes, you are not in the city of Jonesboro. So if you all just get one bill from the county, because if you live in the city limits of Jonesboro, up until this year, you would have gotten your county bill and your city bill. And on your city bill is your sanitation. So if you all are paying outside sanitation and you don't see our wonderful gentleman from Public Works. Yes, ma'am.
Madam Mayor, the Clayton County Board of Commissioners does hereby announce that the millage rate will be set at the meeting to be held on August 28th at 10 a.m.
I think that's their final. They should have had 2 other hearings. Okay. Yes, sir. I'm gonna talk to you because you're on the Falcon shirt. I appreciate that.
Since all of our addresses are Jonesboro,
Yes, sir.
why are we not allowed to vote for the mayor?
So all cities have an incorporated Jones city and then the unincorporated. So when we say I live in the city limits, that's called incorporated Jonesboro. But then you have unincorporated Jonesboro, which is the same for Lovejoy, it's the same for Morrow, it's every city. So cities all over Georgia are chartered and they have an incorporated area and an unincorporated area. So when sometimes people say like, I live in the city of Decatur, but then some can live in Decatur, but unincorporated in DeKalb County. So usually we annex in additional property, but sometimes that's hard to annex residential because people don't want the extra tax. So they actually have a hearing. If y'all run over there now, the hearing is right at the BOC building. Don't speak. At 11 o'clock today and at 6 o'clock today and on Monday at 11. So there's parallel our schedule. And that's gonna actually be at 1098 5th Avenue. You all know where the Board of Education is. So that's 1098 5th Avenue, Jonesboro, Georgia, Clayton County Public Schools Cafe. They have one today at 11. So again, you all can stay here, but your voice will probably be better served over there. 11 a.m. and 6 p.m. today, and again next Monday at 11. That's the county millage rate. So if you don't live in the city, then your concerns related to a millage increase would be best heard in front of the Board of Commissioners. All right, so I'll give us a little. Yes, ma'am. That's the final, but here it says that it's. I think this is the schools. Yeah, I think this is the schools. That's for the schools, but theirs is high too. And the 28th, they have their final one at BOC. Was nothing posted on the BOC door? Because they're supposed to have it posted on the door. All right. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. But if y'all stay, I'm going to do a presentation on the millage rate so y'all can learn a little bit about the millage rate. It takes about 8 minutes. So if y'all want to learn a little bit more about the millage rate, that might be helpful. All right. Looks like we got a quorum. Sorry about that. I just didn't want everybody to come up here. They can't do anything about it. All right. Well, yes. Yeah, there's some maps. We'll go grab. Will you go grab some maps? No, Candace, Miss Mungeon. We'll go grab some maps for. Ask Monica for or somebody. Pat. All right. So I'd like to call to order our public hearing number 1 to order on August 18th. Call to order at 11:11. That should be kind of lucky.
Okay, roll call. Mayor Sauter,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Messick, Councilmember Don Dixon, Councilmember Billy Powell, Councilmember Miller, Councilmember Lester,
Here.
Councilmember Alfred Dixon.
Present.
Let the record reflect that Mayor Pro Tem Messick and Councilmember Billy Powell is absent, and we do have a quorum.
Thank you. So we're just gonna go through a brief presentation. I've been doing it every time we have a budget meeting. I think everybody's attended. It's found it very helpful. So, if anybody don't know, the mayor has been in education for a while, so sharing and teaching and instruction is kind of like second nature. Yes, sir?
Will you be speaking into the microphone?
Yes, sir. Okay. And if I walk away, you just point back to this microphone, okay? I should have had my lapel. Can I take a moment of personal privilege? It's last week was our clerk's birthday, and the mayor kind of forgot. So, and she's been working hard. We got qualifications, we got meetings coming up. But can y'all help me wish Miss Chandrella Druid a happy birthday? Her birthday was overshadowed because she had a daughter that graduated from college on Friday. So thank you so much. Thank you for all that you do for us. Sorry about that. Okay, presentation up. So let's talk about a millage rate and what defines a millage rate. It's coming. So when you do live in the city, there's we base all of our tax assessments on the county. So it's not as though the county assesses it and then we turn around and assess it again. So we take it from what we call their digest. So if the county says your house is worth $5, then they'll tax the millage rate off the $5. Well, they roll that over to us, and if you live in the city, we tax the rate at their assessed value. So if you appeal your value with the county, then that appeal value would be what we assessed as well. So here's a millage rate. Millage rate, I don't know why they just couldn't call it property tax, but a millage rate, 1 mil equals $1 for every $1,000 your property is worth, okay? 1 mil is equal to $1 for every $1,000. So if your house was worth $1,000 and the county had a 1 mil rate, how much would you have to pay the county? $1. If your house was $2,000 and the mill rate was $1,000, then you have to pay $2. Math gets a little complicated when the mill rate isn't as simple as 1. In the city of Jonesboro, it's 8.5, and then your home value is more than that. So a $100,000 home would pay more taxes than a $50,000 home. So that is your millage rate. So if you want to take a picture, that's how you calculate. So you might want to check your math, check your county's math, but they usually get it right. But that's what your millage rate is. So when we talk about our millage rate, so now 8.5 is our mill, which means that you're taxed $8.5 for every $1,000 your house is worth. Any questions on the millage rate? All right, let's go to the next one. No. Okay, there you go. And if that's not clear enough, I got the second one is just another clearer picture. Some people aren't as graphic as I am. Let's go to the next one. So you can see the same thing. 1 mil is $1 of every $1,000 your property is assessed. Okay? All right. Let's go to the next one. Every county and every city, they're required to post yearly what we, a projected millage rate. I wish the wording would say projected, but it says the millage rate will be. State requires us to do this. And the wording has to be exact. Like I can't just decide to tell y'all certain things. That notice also gives a rollback rate. And I think a rollback rate is important. A rollback rate says that we can roll back to this amount and still get the same revenue this year as we did last year. And the reason why that's the case is because tax values go up every year. Your house was worth $2 last year, now it's worth $4. So if it's an increase in taxes, then you can roll back a little bit and still get the same revenue in taxes. So that's why we're required to post for you a rollback rate. I posted, this was 2024, I wanted to just kind of show you this. The tentative increase, where does it say, will result in a millage rate of 14. Most cities post a higher millage rate than what we're going to adopt. Because once we post the millage rate, we can't go back we can't go higher. So if we post and say millage rate will be 14, I can't make it 15. So what a lot of cities do, because during the time we're posting millage rate, we're also developing a budget. So a lot of times we'll post 14. When we posted 15 or 14, whatever, what did we post this year? 14, 15. Yet we were not trying to go to 15, but we needed a cushion to cover us. So I brought up 2024 because we said 14. Give me a click, Shelby. But last year we only approved 8.5. We posted 14, but in that process we developed our budget, and then we came up and voted on and approved at 8.5. So I just wanted to kind of click through this quickly. So you see where it's 14 last year when we posted, we're required to do a 5-year digest. Every city, every county is required to do a 5-year digest. That tells you all the assessed value, all the taxes that was collected, and what the millage rate was for the past 5 years. So if you look at the one we posted this year, you'll see that the 2024 column changed from 14, the first one, which was posted last year, to 8.5 because that's the approved rate. And then for 2025, you'll see a 15 mil rate because that's what we posted. If we don't approve that, when we share this next year during this time, it'll be whatever the approved value is. Any questions? All right, let's go to the next one. Now this is a sample. This is a sample, and this is true for the county and any city. You all have what you call revenues. That's how we get money in. We get money in from tickets, we get franchise fees, if we own any property we're renting, but the bulk of it comes from property taxes. And here's the thing with property taxes, that's the one thing we can control. If I have a millage rate of 1, I get a little bit of money. If I have a millage rate of 30, I get a lot of money. So that's why the millage rate is so important, why it's connected to a budget, because it allows you to determine your revenue. Because a balanced budget means that your revenue equals your expenditures. Like, if we say we're gonna make $5, then guess how much we can spend? $5. That's how cities get into deficits. We haven't done that. We won't do it this year either. So that's our revenue. And so that's why millage rate is important. All right, go to the next one, Shelby. Before I get to this, I also want to share this part about budgets. Ideally, so we go to training classes. Ideally, you want to determine what you need for a city next year. We don't just pick up and say, I want a 12 millage rate, I want an 11 millage rate. What we do is we say, what do we need next year? And we put all those numbers in a bucket. So we might need a new street paving. We might need to fix a park. We might need to buy a new truck. Police might need 20 brand new cars. Staff might need a 20% raise. We might need new positions. That's not happening. Staff shouldn't have used a bad example. But either way, we determine what do we need to run the city. We look at what we spent this year. We look at any increases. Now, some things we can't control. So we might say we're going to spend $10,000 on power. And that might be a give or take. We never know how the rates go up. We may decide that we're going to do some construction, and then all of a sudden there's a tariff that hits mid-year, and what we allocated for that construction no longer costs that amount, it increases. So we build a budget. Once you build a budget, then this is what I do, and this is usually a best practice. I build a budget and say, ideally, hey, this is what we need. Then I'll work with our accounting and finance department and say, what millage rate? Then I'll work with will help us get to that. And so really your budget should drive your millage rate decision. Anything beyond that or anything otherwise is kind of unfair to the citizens. So we're suggesting a millage rate based on our needs. And if the millage rate doesn't cover that, then I have to begin to do what? What do you think happens then? I got to begin to cut. I got to cut staff. Got to cut things we do for citizens. Some things I can't cut. I can't cut power. I can be a little bit more conservative, but I can't cut power. I can tell the chief, you know what, drive those older cars a little bit longer. Might tell the public works department, we're gonna have to figure out another way if we can't get a trip a truck. So it starts cutting on that. And so I bring that up because I can speak to all of my council members, we don't want to increase millage rate, but we also have a standard of service that we have to provide. And if the trash truck breaks down, I gotta pick your trash up. So that's the expense I have to have. So initially I built a budget on it, and I recommended it to the council because our charter says that the mayor and staff creates a budget and presents to council. So I presented a budget to them saying that we need a millage rate of about 11.5. Then I realized we need more money in contingency, and there were some other things that came up. There was a 10% increase in our group health insurance. I can't do anything about that. this year it's gonna cost us up to 10% more to cover our employees. Now, there's a cutting option. We pay 100% of our employees' benefits for the employee and a certain percentage for their family and their wives. So now I'm faced with decisions where, do I want my staff to pay 50% of their premiums? I mean, I've worked at jobs where they do both, where they cover all of it, but I've also worked with jobs where I've had to pay a certain percentage. So that's when cutting gets in, and I have to determine what's important. It's not always about cutting nice vehicles or concerts. The cutting really affects the people that come in and do the services that we deliver. Any questions on that? Okay. So if you, in the city of Jonesboro, this part is what's important, because this is what's really driving the discussion. In 2000, this is agenda from 2019. That was in and around when we were building this brand new building. This building's been here for 3 years. October would be 3 years. And there's a part on there at 11:30 where they discussed how we would pay for this. Now I'm about to say something like, well, legend says, because I heard different stories, but I don't know what I heard, that the current council at that time agreed to an incremental millage rate increase along with SPLOST to cover this building. Now, it wasn't signed into law, but I know when I became a councilwoman what I heard when we had a meeting. And Ed Walls is our finance advisor, who's probably the best of the best. He works for several cities in the county, as well as the school district. And he said, hey, y'all can build this building, but you're gonna have to incrementally step up every year, incrementally, 0.5, whatever. So there was a year when I became mayor that we actually rolled it back. So now we got a plan. And many of you all buy houses and buy cars, and y'all say, okay, well, you know, I'm gonna buy a house, but I'm gonna have to do 10 hours of overtime a week. Or I'm gonna have to keep that part-time job or something. And that's kind of like it was when you built here. And I will commend our previous body of elected officials. They didn't just build this building haphazardly. They used SPLOST funds, we used some money out of our Georgia Fund one, but they said, in order to maintain this building, we gotta have an incremental tax increase, which would put us about 12 this year. We're at 8.5 because one year we rolled it back. Also, keep this caveat in mind. You wanna save money. At the end of every year when you balance and they audit, you wanna say, ooh, we did all of that and we got $500,000 left over from our operating budget. And then I wanna roll that into our savings so we can build our reserves. And so that's what's important there. So we didn't really follow the plan to build the building, and unfortunately I came to the easiest thing was me to sell this building and just going back to the other one, because with this building comes expenses. We got a custodial contract, we got more power and more lights. We got a clock that tears up every now and we got a elevator that breaks every other week. So they're expensive. So not only do you have your build, you also have your maintenance. And then there's landscaping. So let's go to the next one, Shelby. Let's go to the shorter one. Perfect. So if you see in 2023, that's all our total debt service. That's what we owe. That's like a mortgage. Our debt service is made up of 3 properties. This property, Nouveau, the City Green, if y'all ever been there, and Lee Street Park. So we bundled it all together. And we said that in 2023, we're gonna use $896,000 worth of our SPLOST. We got some investments, we got the restaurant rent, and then there's still a difference, $474,000 that we gotta come up with. Is everybody following along with me on that? So let's skip down to where we are 2025. We had to come up with $465,000. And next year, we got to come up with $617,000. That'll be a little less because we'll still have restaurant rent, because I don't think we're going to sell the restaurant. That's Nouveau. So when I deal with a budget, right off the bat, because state law says I cannot build a budget that does not consider this debt. So I can't ignore it. So when I do the budget, the first thing that's in my budget is $617,000, give or take, because I got to pay that. Then I start building backwards. So I know it was out there on the internet and everybody like, oh, mayor's going to double the, going up to 110%. No, my goal was never to go up to 15, but we do have to take a big jump this year because we did not follow the plan. I can't say it any other way. I inherited something, a beautiful office, a beautiful building, great ways to do things for the community, but I also inherited a bill that has to be paid for, and I would really just like to follow the plan that was subscribed. Any questions on that? Show me what's left. Oh, that's like my animation. Well, keep going. I got a little excited. There you go. One more. There you go. There you go. All right. Oh, it's the arrow for. Okay, perfect. All right. So that's all I have. Any questions? Was that helpful? I think it kind of is. Hopefully, it kind of takes the. So that's the decision. What we've been doing. I definitely want to hear from you. Part of me wanted to put like a little list here, and if you don't want us to increase the millage rate, then you have to be, You have to pick what you want us to cut from. Staff, landscaping, events, like give me some options, because if I don't increase the millage rate to 12 or 12.5, I'm gonna have to cut. And I will tell you, even the budget that I'm submitting now at 12.5 has a contingency of 500,000, which, is that right? Contingency, somewhere in there, which is good. Contingency means if something happened, I got this little pot of money built over to the side. $500,000 is modest. I would like a little bit more, but 500,000 would be fine. You wouldn't want anything less than that. But we've already cut, and I'm saying these numbers off my head, 4 police officers, 2 public works, 1 receptionist, 1 code enforcement. I would have wanted to give my staff a 5% raise. It includes a 2% or a 5%? A 2%. Yeah, just like y'all have bills and expenses, my staff have bills and expenses. And the same eggs that y'all buy for double the price, they have to buy too. The same gas pump that you go to, they go to as well. And also, we did a compensation study. Our staff is well below the average norm for the positions they do in the areas that they do. So just keep that in mind. All right, with that being said, and I always like to ask council so that there's a complete transparency. Council, do y'all want to add anything, or was there any untruth that was said? Yes, ma'am. So last week we cut the tree down, and the week of the 18th. So we're just waiting on a delivery. And that's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up. Most cities have a capital improvement plan, which means in this budget, you say, every year we're going to invest $300,000, I'm just picking a number, into our facilities, parks, sometimes it's vehicles. We have not had that. Typically you have a 5-year plan. You say every year we're going to do this. Lee Street Park this year, Massengale Park this year. We didn't have that. So unfortunately what happened, we didn't treat the turf, and that's a heavily used park. You're supposed to treat it every year. Well, it was never treated, and then when we did a playground inspection, it was deemed unsafe. And when anything is deemed unsafe, I immediately shut it down. And so fortunately we had some funds left over, and so it's about $105,000 to fix it. So there's some key pieces of equipment that had to be replaced, as well as we're gonna turf the whole bottom. And hopefully we'll be able to get a little bit more wear out over time, and then hopefully next year we'll be able to come up with a capital improvement plan so things like that don't get behind. But we do have 2 other parts, Battle Creek and Massengale. All right, so I'm gonna go to, what's next on the agenda? The public hearing? Am I supposed to say anything or just go to the public hearing? Thank you. All right, so I think some of these people may have left. Ms. Steele? Yeah, I'm still here. Okay. Hi, how are you? I'm good. And this, I want to make sure I read this correctly. 8497 North Shore?
Correct.
Is that drive or lane?
Drive. And you did tell me, I know that I'm in unincorporated, and I knew that before I came.
Okay.
Some of the reason that I came is because I know that there can be zoning changes and cities can be extended and what have you like that. That hasn't happened yet, but just because right now you're just increasing the city, inside the city limit, doesn't mean that things wouldn't be rezoned and affect surrounding areas. And in Jonesboro, I've been over this way about 27 years. And so I've noticed that our residents are getting older and older. Many of them are retiring, even in the city of Jonesboro. And just because a property is assessed at $200,000 doesn't mean that you could actually get $200,000 for it. And so now you're telling people a house that they paid, say, maybe $90,000 for 30 years ago when they bought it. Now you're telling them it's worth $250,000, but they couldn't get that if they tried to sell it tomorrow. And now they're retired and on a set income, and just because these expenses keep going up and up and up, pensions don't increase 90% every year. Social Security doesn't increase. And so a lot of these older people are either gonna go into deficits as far as their home income and being able to expend, and going to either have to try to move out of Jonesboro, or you're going to end up trying to sell the house for taxes because they're not going to be able to afford to stay here. And so that's something that I think when you're building budgets and you're looking at all that, not just look at what the city needs, but what is this city comprised of? If 99% or 50% of your people are senior citizens, a lot of the stuff that you want to keep up, parks and blah, 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 they're not going to that. And so you have to evaluate where your citizens are and what they can afford, or you lose your city. Because the residents can't keep going up and up and up when they're getting older and older and older, and everything is increasing, but except for their income. That's all I want to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I would say this, we try to do as many senior things as possible. So our park has a walking track, and a lot of our seniors actually use the park. We're working on widening our sidewalk so they feel comfortable walking in the thing. So I'm a very, it's important to me that seniors have amenities. Yeah, I understand that too. And also, I also want to say this as well. You don't get taxed on your sale value. You get taxed on a certain percentage, and that's to avoid that. So you're only taxed on, is it 40%? 40% of your assessed value. So if they say that your house is worth $100,000, you're not assessed on that. And the reason why we only assessed on 40% because we realize that you don't always sell on that price. But thank you so much, and we definitely take our seniors in consideration. Yes, sir.
If I could, we do not set the value of the house. The city of Jonesboro does not set the value of the houses. That is set by the county. So we have no control over what they do. If you've got a house that was worth $100,000 last year and this year it's worth $150,000, the city didn't do that. That was from the county. We have to use their figures.
And that's common. So what he's referring to is the digest that I mentioned. We wait for the digest. This year, we're allowing them to do our billing. So, thank you, Councilman Dixon. Melton, Brock, 201 South Main, Paulus, Nancy. Come on. Is that Chuck? How you doing?
Morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I do have a couple questions about the tax. I understand we pay tax for the residents of Jonesboro, so they get certain amenities, correct? All
Yes.
residents?
I feel like that's what you,
Oh, like the parks and sidewalks and lights and everything?
yes, sir.
Well, my question is, as a resident or a homeowner, a private homeowner, what kind of tax am I paying, and what are like the senior apartments paying, these apartments being built down here on South Main? What is their tax base on that?
So
You have 92 residents on there's
Say it one more
92 condos, I believe, on South Main to be built.
yes, sir.
And are those residents going to pay some type of tax for their,
Yes, sir.
and is it comparable to a person that has a one-bedroom house? So if my taxes are $1,000 on my property and they got 92 on there, are they going to pay $92,000?
No, sir. So that's a good question. So the homes that we're building, and also we put a caveat whenever we have a new, we put a, what do you call it? We put in a variant. I don't know. Like we put a stipulation. So when those 92 homes are built, they can't be built for rent. And even if they are, the owner still has to be charged for the tax. So those houses are going to sell at $370,000 to $425,000. So you remember that little equation I gave you?
Right.
They're going to pay more than someone's house that's not valued as much.
So those 12 acres that they're building on is going to pay more than 12 one-acre properties?
Yes,
A
sir.
lot, quite a bit.
Correct, yes,
And do
because
we have-
we don't do a lot. In Georgia, unlike in other places like the Midwest and stuff, if you have a house that sits on 2 acres of land, your land or your acreage really doesn't factor in a lot. Now in the Midwest, where you have like these big old farms and stuff, then their land is different.
And how
Tax
many
different.
rental properties do we have, or like housing? I noticed that the city of Jonesboro and Clayton County own quite a few properties here in Jonesboro, like 51 properties. Is that
Some
correct?
Yeah, and some of those are in the land bank, sir, so it's a little bit different. What's unique about Jonesboro compared to some other cities in the county is that we have a lot of properties that don't pay taxes. So churches don't pay taxes. And, you know, we have blocks and blocks owned by the church, which I don't have a problem with, but if you look at our percentage, and I wish I had those numbers, but we have a significant amount of land that's owned by businesses that have statuses that don't require them to pay taxes.
Well, I was just going through a couple of these property addresses.
Yeah, and the county owns one as well.
Okay.
But we're the county seat, and as part of being the county seat, the county has to retain their main offices in the city.
I understand that.
Yes, sir.
Like, I'm sure you're familiar with the Key property over here off McDonough Road,
Tell me
right by the railroad tracks.
the big house? Yes.
That was bought by the city or the county a number of years ago. It's an eyesore, and they don't pay any taxes. I don't know why they would not be paying some type of taxes. I even looked up to see what the sale value of it, and I can't find that.
So not paying taxes is something that is regulated by the state. So we didn't just decide that we're not going to pay taxes on our property. The state, cities all across I don't know about America, I'll just talk about Georgia, they don't pay taxes on their property.
So instead of the city buying these properties, if another individual would buy the properties, they could pay tax on it, correct?
Yes, sir. So we have, I
So
hate
why are we buying these properties and
sir,
not paying taxes?
I love your questions, and I don't want you to think I'm like passing the buck. I haven't purchased any property since I've been mayor, and one of it is because those reasons. If you purchase property, one, you got to maintain the property, and two, you got to determine. And so we don't have a long-term development plan in Jonesboro. We're working on that. So as a result, I have not acquired any property. So those 55 properties that you have were all acquired prior to me becoming mayor. We ain't bought no houses, have we? I don't think so. Okay, I'm almost positive. So we have not. So we can start liquidating them at some point, but what we run into, I want to make sure if we sell that Key property, that I have to look and see what it's zoned for, because if someone buys it, then we lose control over what goes there. And so most cities have a 5 or 10-year development plan that says, with this property, we want to see it zoned and developed this way. With this property, we want to see it zoned and developed that way. We don't really have that. We have a comprehensive plan that kind of gives us an idea, but not product specific. But your point is well taken. But just remember, when we buy a property, we got to maintain the property. And even if we demolish that home, that's a cost associated with demolition.
Okay, well, like I said, I understand that but if you don't have a development plan, why are we buying these properties and not paying taxes?
Yeah, we would have to ask the previous mayor and council.
Well, and I understand, but they're probably not here. So as mayor and city council, I guess you're my go-to people.
Yeah, and so my
to
plan,
figure
sir,
out-
my plan, Mr. Paulus, is to come up with a strategic plan, hopefully in the next 12 months, that we determine whether we want to liquidate these properties or develop these properties. It's not something I just want to wake up and say, sell all the properties. So we are working on that.
Okay, and like I said, with all these properties, these apartments, when they start selling them for $300,000 or $400,000, I think you said, what's that going to do to our tax revenues? Isn't that going to really bump it up? Is this millage rate really necessary with all the buildings and?
Because the remedy that you're giving, which would be a viable remedy, probably cannot be pursued in the next 12 months. So, and maybe a remedy like you're suggesting could be pursued next year, and then our 2027 taxes might not have to be as impacted.
Okay.
Thank you so much, though.
Well, thank you. I just have another question about,
Yes,
you
sir.
said we want to take care of
Your
our
time is
buildings.
up, but real
time is
quickly,
up.
but it's
Oh,
fine.
You see the sign? That's fine.
No, sir, go ahead. What was about the
Well, you were
police?
talking about the employees. We want to take care of our employees, right? We want to give them benefits and stuff. But the homeowners and stuff too, they can't pay for everything everybody wants. You know what I'm saying? Let's add a sales tax to all residents, a sales tax for those paying money instead of the real estate tax.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you all. Beverly Mack. Benjamin Anderson. Ruth Evans. Erlene Stokes. Ms. Howell. Morrison. Lanley. Thank you so much. Thank you for your service. Is there anyone else here? I know we took this up earlier and some other people came in. Anyone else here to speak on public comment? Yes, sir, come on. If you would, I am going to ask your name and address if that's okay. What's your name?
My name is Lee Moore. I live at 107 Spring Street.
Hold on a second. Lee Moore is 107.
Spring Street.
Yes, sir.
My concern is that the taxes in the city of Jonesboro keeps going up, but the amenities does not go up. And that, everybody on the council in the last 9 or 10 years that I've lived in the city, I've owned property in Jonesboro for 20 years, but last 10 years that I've lived in here, the amenities don't go up accordingly. Everybody brags about the Lee Street Park. It's a pain in the rear. I live on Spring Street. Every time you have an event at the park, I have the extra trash I got to pick up and litter that's on my street. And you go by there after an event in the park, where that 90% of the people that attend the events that you have in the park don't live in the city, and they don't pay taxes. There ought to be a charge for the people attending these events that don't live in the city. If they're events that's supposed to satisfy the citizens, then they ought to have a checklist or something. All of this stuff that you have at the park is, you know, look, I'm Caucasian, and I know that our former council has voted that the city of Jonesboro is a city of color. I don't have a problem with that. I go to church with the colored folks. I grew up with colored folks. I don't have a problem with that. But what I do have a problem with is that these people that's coming in is it's geared more to that culture than what is culture of the Caucasians.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. Just some points of clarification. I'm not sure if we voted that this was a color city. Did we?
Yeah, our former mayor did, and it's all over the publications of.
That we voted it was a colored city?
It was a city of color, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we're a city of color. And I don't have a problem.
Maybe like
with
several colors.
that. Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
I'm thinking several colors,
But-
not colored, a
yeah.
city of color. And we've only had 2 events at the park. We had a 4th of July event and we had a Juneteenth event that was well tended and really kind of diverse. But we will make sure that as we do have events at the park, that our key streets around are kept up, and I apologize for that.
My wife and I used to walk. We stopped walking because the language.
The color folks?
No.
Okay.
The language at the basketball court and around the park is horrendous.
Just so you know that, like, pretty much, and we've talked about that.
Well, what happened to our park patrol?
I don't know, that was before me. Maybe they cut that out the budget, Chief. What happened? They cut it out the budget. That was kind of like before me too.
Well, we
But-
have police officers. You see them sitting around places. Why don't they sit around the park? Why don't they walk around the park?
'Cause-
I mean, you know,
Okay, so let me just say this. If we were at capacity, we probably could put an officer. But when officers don't get paid what neighboring cities are getting paid, then it's hard to retain officers.
if they don't like the job, let them go somewhere else.
Well, that's what they've done.
You know,
That's pretty much what has
and-
happened.
And there's people out there on the employment list. You
Well,
know,
but not for officers. We're a little selective. Like, we could fill the force. Chief could go in right now to his 30 people that are waiting and fill the force. But I promise you, as a citizen, you would not be happy with who he filled. Everyone with a badge will not come serve in the city of Jonesboro.
And I understand that, ma'am. But what?
We're gonna work on everything that you said. I can't do nothing about the colored folks, but that was kind of, yeah.
Let me tell you. You look at the park down there. How many times have we replaced the lettering on the park, Lee Street Park?
Yeah, I'm with you on
I
that.
mean, you know,
so.
there is certain ways that you can make a permanent sign that cannot be destroyed. We're spending all of this money in the park down there. You go by it, and it looks horrendous. And it's supposed to have been the pride and joy of Jonesboro, just like the Taj Mahal that we're paying for right here that we're speaking in today.
Thank you so much, Mr. Paulus. And Councilwoman Miller has a question.
I'd just like to ask, what sort of amenities or
I'm sorry.
what sort of amenities or functions would you like to see in the city of Jonesboro?
Well, I haven't seen any out here lately. I
No,
mean,
where
any
would
kind-
you like to go to? Where would you and your wife like to go to?
Anything that would be pleasant to the ear, and you don't get this loud boom, 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 boom. I live 3 blocks from the park, and when you have a concert and stuff at the park, my house vibrates.
I understand. I'm by Spring Street as well. And so something like jazz, I just want to know so we can cater to, you
Something-
know, all of our residents. At least
Look,
keep it in
I'm
mind.
77 years old. My going to the parties and partying, those days are over with.
Okay.
So I'd like to live in peace. Peace where it's quiet and comfortable. I don't want all of this
Okay. Thank
ranting
you.
and raving coming up the street.
Thank you. Yes,
Okay.
yes, sir. We'll work on that. Thank you so much, Mr. Paulus. All right, anyone else? Yeah, that's, ma'am, let's not engage. Thank you. Come on up, previous Councilwoman Patsy Bohan. Set the timer.
Good morning, almost good afternoon. Patsy Bohan, 175 Church Street. I just wanted to make one comment, and that's to, what's your last name again, sir? Polis.
No, that wasn't Mr. Paulus, that was Mr. Moore, sorry.
I was on the city council when that.
Council, I'm sorry, Miss, speak to us, it's to us, so turn around and speak to us. You can talk to him afterwards, but this is public comment for us.
Okay.
So if you want to make a comment to him, I'm sure Mr. Paulus would meet you out in the hall for a comment. Do you have something to say to us?
Well, actually, I will need to do the research on it as to when that property, some of that property was deeded over to the city. The city did not purchase outright. I would have to go back and check the date on that because Mayor Day arranged that, and a good portion of that property, if not all of it, in my recollection, because it's been a number of years ago, was given to the city, so the city did not actually outright pay for that, though the city does own it. A good portion of that property, some of that acreage or all of that acreage was given to the city. So
Now that you say that, I
was-
remember that.
That was my only comment.
Thank you so much. Anyone else here for public comment on notice of property tax increase? Anyone else here? At this time, one more time, anybody else here for public hearing, notice of property tax increase? All right, at this, yes, sir. Yeah. Go ahead, sir, because you're a resident, you can have at it, go ahead.
We got rid of the Jonesboro Fire Department and it went to Clayton County for the services, correct?
Yes, sir.
Years ago. Could we get rid of the Jonesboro Police and turn it to the county police as well? Would that save us any money and have the same type of coverage?
Okay. I'm for consideration. Thank you, sir. Any other comments for the notice of property tax increase? All right, I would now consider this public hearing closed. Our next public hearing will be the 28th?
This 6 o'clock tonight.
Oh, tonight at 6 o'clock? I gotta come back? Okay. Okay, 6 o'clock tonight. Thank y'all so much. I'll entertain a motion. Wait, we gotta adjourn. Can we entertain a motion to adjourn? Well, there's a motion on the floor to adjourn. Can I get a second? Any discussion, council? All in favor? We're now adjourned. You all have a great afternoon.